Hello, my name is Teal Welling, and I'd like you to subscribe to this page. Just hit the subscribe button below, and then just to the right of that, hit the bell button, which will inform you of when I make more videos. When I post them, you'll get a notification. Hello, my name is Teal Welling. Welcome to my channel. And today we're going to continue. This is a continuation of my series about the fictional United States, the NCC 1701 Enterprise, from the mind of Gene Roddenberry and several other members of the OSS, Monuments Men. This structure is fiction. It came from the imaginations of various assorted World War II veterans. But it's also inspired by real-life things. One, King Solomon's Temple, and two, well, King Solomon's Temple and every Freemason lodge is designed about along the key architectural features, as well as the eastern side of the Roman Forum, from about the middle part of the Roman Forum east to the end of the Colosseum. This part being from the western side of the Temple of Caesar to the Capitoline Hill. Okay. The King Solomon's Temple, Freemasonry. One, the beginning with the Colosseum. The materials that the Colosseum are made out of, I hypothesize, are made from the materials that were dismantled, shipped to Rome, and reassembled from King Solomon's Temple. The process started with Emperor Claudius, who was a very, very different person than you think he was, because Roman history, the Roman Senate, and the like were such unfans of Emperor Claudius that the empire spent the next 300 years after his death, supposedly, trying to rewrite and successfully rewriting his history. But the problem is all the evidence involved does not corroborate what they were talking about. Now, you can manufacture all the evidence you possibly want to. You can do all kinds of hearsay. You can do all kinds of circumstantial, but it doesn't stop the facts from being there. The materials of the Colosseum were most likely the years it took to dismantle King Solomon's Temple in Levant Lands, Jerusalem. Well, actually, that direction, Levant Lands, Jerusalem. They slowly took everything apart, brought it here, and reassembled it, at least partially reassembled it on the City of Pillars that used to be here, that is symbolized in the fascia, which is a bundle of sticks that is the symbol of the Praetorian Guard, the guard of the emperor. So you have the worship master, the stage, and the things that happen on the stage. And you have the distance between the altar and the worshipful master. And on the altar you have 3 pillars, and you have 3 other pillars that are doing something else, and then you have 4 other things that are also in that same aspect. That if you bind them together, that is a fascia. That is a fascia, which the Nazis then use that inappropriately and incorrectly long after the word fascia was created to explain the symbol of the City of Pillars, which is a bound collection of sticks with a piece of metal coming from it. So you have the Temple of Caesar, and the entrance, and how to come and go from a Masonic temple. You have the Temple of Venus, which there is in the fictional concept of the Enterprise, you have a warp core. Well, that would be, the warp core is a jaded as well as a fascia, a collection of sticks. Because a jaded is made of a collection of sticks. different bindings and such, but it's a collection of sticks. You have the north officer's position, you have the southern officer's position, and of course you have other things here and there in the next thing. So you have the altar, and no one walks around this area. No one walks. There's so, and that's the Roman Forum, of course. That's the Roman Forum. Commoners were allowed to walk here, but none of the royals. None of the royals didn't walk in this area. This area was not a place for that commoners that royals would walk, because commoners were allowed to come and go. The royals, specifically the Julii family, would use the causeways, would use the walkways from the Temple the Domus Julii down to the infrastructure of the Temple of Venus, up to the Imperia Fora, or up to the City of Pillars over here, after Claudius, over to his palace over here, and then over to, there was a circular walkway created in this situation. So you have a circle here, and you have a circle here, an oval here, a circle here, and all kinds of stuff. Okay. Looking at you, if you draw a line straight through that direction, 1,300 miles later, you're going to this thing will impact the double spine that is where the Roman Empire created the idea of Janus from. The west face of Janus being the old man, the east face of Janus being the young lad, the young person. Old person, young person. Sorry for being gender specific there for a second. So you have now, and being the end of December, in a truly hellacious year, you have old year 2020 and new year 2021. That is symbolized by a baby. That is symbolized by an old person, either an old man with a big beard, or an older female, or something to that effect. Symbology is, sometimes symbology is gender neutral, sometimes it's very specific, but it's generalized symbology. So apologize for anybody who might be offended by that. So going straight 1,300 odd miles, and you hit Janus. You hit the pyramids of Rome. You hit the pyramids of Egypt. How do I know that this is a matter of absolute fact? Okay, from the farthest north pyramid, Djedefre, down to Khufu, Khafre, Menkaure, all the way down to the Bent. All the way down, this forms a double spine. The west face is where this line bisects into the west, from the spinal column down to about mid spine. From the mid spine, it's the east face to the middle of the hip, and then the east face of Janus takes over again, and is the coccyx, the tailbone. So you have double spines. Now, maybe an extreme coincidence, if you draw a line from Djedefre to Khufu all the way down to the Bent, you may be an extreme coincidence that it just happens to be the Siamese twin double spine of Janus. Until you add the causeways, which match perfectly where the major nerves shoot off the spine into controlling the body. There's 3 here, there's several here, and so on and so forth down the road. Those causeways are the point to this entire situation. This video is about the causeways. And the prism that I covered a little bit in a previous video, but this one will be a lot on that subject. The Enterprise and that subject are basically the same thing, although add the Enterprise and the fictional TV show and original movie Stargate with a big Stargate Choppa Eye situation. Add the Choppa Eye and a warp drive and those things together, and we start to have a fictionalized version of what the Egyptians and the Romans, although that's not entirely accurate, See, the city of Rome was conquered and renamed that. Previous, the city was called the city of Samhain, spelled Samhain. Although those characters were in Gaelic, which did exist at the time. Latin would not exist for 200 or 300 years, or at least 150 years Latin would not exist. So those characters would not exist. So there was no Rome, R-O-M-N-E. There were runic, there were Futhark characters, and there were Ogham characters, and then there was other Gaelic characters in existence at the time. So the sound of Samhain, spelled S-A-M-H-I-N, is the sound is Manx Gaelic for Halloween. But since S-E-V-N-N did not exist yet, neither did the Arabic 7, neither of these existed yet, because they would not be existed for centuries. They went with the name, the City of Seven Hills. And the seven can literally be a modified description of the 7 areas of the pyramids where they were clustered. You have got 1 here, you got 3 in this cluster, you got 1 here, you got 3-ish in this cluster, you've got 3 in that cluster. So you have, and the cluster, and there are either between 1 and 3 or 4 in each cluster. Well, there's 7 clusters. Well, that's the 7 hills reference. But since there was no 7, there was no number or Latin 7 at the time. It was the Gaelic Samhain, which is Halloween, which is October 31st. Janus, west face, east face. So you have that, and then you have the Bent Pyramid, which is the farthest south. You have Roy G. Biv, and you have Roy G. Biv. Or Roy G. Biv, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, violet, and you have Roy G. Biv. Look at each other. So you have that built into the double head of Janus. Now you take that and apply it to the color pattern, the color spectrum, and you actually literally put you spread the color pattern from red at the Bent Pyramid up to the middle. That's Roy G. Biv. Now you start at the Geoffrey Pyramid and go down Roy G. Biv till they meet in the middle. That color pattern, east. Now it's only about 20 miles from here to here, but if you arrange the wedge to be according to the causeways, then it's a full 90-degree bend. It's a full 90-degree arc, and it extends across more than half the globe. Because there's important places that these causeways bisect that are become important for navigation and logistics and such. So this is where things become scientifically difficult on a good day. The pyramids, the Khufu, most striking example is the Khufu pyramid, which does not have 4 sides. There's not 4 sides to that pyramid. There are 8. There are 8 prisms built into the Khufu pyramid. Now, hear that correctly. There are 8 prisms built into the Khufu pyramid. Now, the light spectrum, the visible light spectrum, the light spectrum is really, really wide, and the visible light spectrum that we can see with our naked eye is only about a centimeter or at max thick in this in the entire electromagnetic spectrum. So what we can see and what electromagnetic spectrums can and cannot pass through, depending on the level of density of a material, matters a great deal for this exact examination. Because if you have 16 major pyramids, each one of them is a prism. So you have the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. As it rises in the east, it impacts the pyramid and casts a shadow. Well, the expansion condenses, which means that expansion compresses this side even more, which means that anything that contains quartz, which is more than 90% of granite and more than 90% of limestone, contain quartz is in by more than 90% limestone and granite. So you have hundreds of tons of quartz being compressed. So the sun goes up and it all expands, and then the sun starts to set. This is where things become interesting. And according to if you take the day and compare it to directly compare it to a year, where things become interesting is at close to sunset, which would be October 31st. That's that fixed point from there to midnight. That there to midwinter. That is what we're talking about. Okay. So you have this side starting to cool down and shrink, which means that the electricity has been building up all day long. Allergies. This side starts to shrink, which means it's starting to release more and more electricity. But this side is still hot and warm, and thermodynamically it's still either at maximum expansion or it's still expanding, which means that as this side is at maximum expansion, this side is starting to shrink down, which means that when you apply Psalm 23 to it, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Thou art with me, and so on and so forth. Okay. Apply that psalm to the pyramids. The sun comes in, and various assorted of the electromagnetic waves are passing through the limestone, because it's really a light material. So you've got 3 to 6, 7, 8 feet of limestone that's being passed through. That limestone is giving off electricity. So you've got light waves that are entering the limestone, and the limestone is giving off electricity, which means that these waves are being amplified with electricity. And it goes through them, and it does its thing, and then it gets played with by the quartz in the granite. And the majority of the pyramids a lot of the pyramids are granite, especially the primary chambers. They're granite, and granite is one of the densest of the materials. It's also about 99%, 98% quartz. So you have all this quartz is giving off electricity. The limestone is giving off electricity, and it's bending. The electricity is bending the EM waves as they go through the prism at the edge of the pyramid. So you have some stuff going through the south side, and you have some stuff going through the north side, and they wrap around the pyramid, and then they start and they come together, and the causeway is right there. Now, whether the causeway is this direction or that direction, there's fixed points on those causeways, and the causeways are a mile or two long, and they were built specifically, and they're 15 feet tall, which means that they're made to channel electromagnetic vibrations. So you have its own the stuff it's giving off by itself, and you have the vibrations, the electromagnetic vibrations that are coming in from the sun behind, the sun to the west behind, coming through, and then splitting apart the electromagnetic spectrum into its base elements with the prism. And very specific aspects of the spectrum is coming through, and then combining together in the causeway, which the causeway was custom designed to be able to hold and maintain and focus, like an amplifier, focus the electromagnetics coming through the prism of the pyramid into the causeway. At the end of that causeway is an entrance temple. At that entrance temple, you have, actually, technically speaking, the engineering of the causeways with the prisms and the sun and the thermodynamics and the quartz, all this kind of stuff. You actually have not that far away from the physical, tangible engineering of a railgun. You got electromagnetics on three sides that are still left. They're still there. There may have been a roof at some point, and that roof, and there may have been other materials involved. They were left mostly unfinished, so there may be the walls may have been lined with something like metal, gold or copper or something to that effect, or some other material that would have helped to amplify. Wood would have helped to amplify and to channel. That's a railgun. That's a railgun. So you have a railgun. At least 90% of the 90+% of the engineering of a railgun is right there in the causeways. So you have at the end of the railgun, at the end of the causeway, the railgun, you have an entrance temple, and the overwhelming majority of the deities associated with the entrance temples to the pyramids had an aten built into their headdress, and some of those temples were not exactly small. So you're having a relief carving of an Egyptian deity that is anywhere between 6, 10, 15, 30 feet tall, which means that this aten is nowhere in the neighborhood of small. It's more than, some of them could have easily been at least the aten built into the headdress could have easily have been at least 5, 6 feet tall. So you have the engineering of a railgun with a structure that's made to through thermodynamic actions and activities generate electricity, and we're not talking about small amount of electricity either. And you have metal in association, and you have lots and lots of ruins, and you have lots and lots of other stuff that doesn't make any sense. You have the makings of a railgun. Now, just to add just a few more pieces of information to that situation, and you literally have a railgun in the causeways. Well, that railgun being at the end of the railgun being an aten, being, for lack of a better description, a stargate. So you have all this power focused and directed, and the electricity is charged specifically with different types of electromagnetic waves from the prism. So you have different chargings. Now, if you have people inside the chambers who are drumming or toning or singing or that kind of stuff. Now, what I did with the last recording is I covered Egyptology, prayers and such, and how the Egyptology prayers and physics equations are truly, technically speaking, etymologically speaking, no difference whatsoever. A prayer is this is what we're doing. This is what we're wanting to do. This is what we would like deity to do, and this is what we're hoping. That's all physics. You're describing actions. Well, every character is a description of an action. Everything in every character in physics, in mathematics, in algebra and above, every character is a description of motion. So the hieroglyphic funerary rituals, there is no reason why, logically and statistically speaking, that those cannot be directly compared to various and assorted physics equations, be it astrophysics or be it quantum physics or any of the other physics that are involved in directly in association with this. You have people in the chambers or somewhere in various assorted sacred, different rooms and such, and they're chanting. They're actually changing the electromagnetic vibration of the stuff of the sun's rays as they pass through the prism, as they change them and alter them as the prism separates the electromagnetic waves out. You isolate whatever the wave you're going for, and it's directed into the causeway, and you have chantings or prayers or what have you, and that changes and amplifies the vibrations, the electromagnetic situation. So you have electricity, and you have electricity that's charged in specific ways, and you have different types of compounded electricity charged in different ways. So you're channeling all that stuff into a funnel that would become a railgun that has all the engineering specifications necessary to be a railgun. At the end of that, you have a circle, an auton, or fictionally can be identified as a Stargate. You have an entrance. You have an entrance Stargate. You have an entrance here. You have a railgun that's pumping and pumping and pumping electricity specifically charged, specifically geared toward whatever is going on. You have this railgun that's pumping into this auton. Where does it go? To be able to have an Einstein-Rosen bridge, a stabilized Einstein-Rosen bridge, you have to have an event horizon entrance and an event horizon exit. That's already there too. At the Bent Pyramid, you exit the railgun causeway of the Bent Pyramid, go into the entrance temple, and you enter the auton. What's its destination? King Solomon's Temple. And there was a gate in that exact area. Whether or not it had something to do with whether or not there was a circle involved, that's only speculation at this point. But there was an entrance temple. There was an entrance gate, and that entrance gate, the southern entrance gate, has a considerably, gigantically, monstrously large to do with, ask any Freemason. There was a thing that happened at that gate that is unbelievably important to Masonry. Okay. What that was, ask a Mason. But to be a Mason, you need to ask a Mason. So ask away. So when you deal with that, the landing temple, you had the landing temple and a possibility of an event horizon to exit from. You then go in. You then can go into exit fictionally exit the event horizon of the entrance temple that is actually about 5% of Masonry is about this subject, with some poetic license put in the middle. Realistically, if you apply it completely and totally, it's between 3 and 4%, 2.5, 3 of soft 4% of the information of Masonry of that specific aspect covers this subject. Do some monkeying around with etymology, and a few more percentage is covered under a few other aspects and pieces, portions of Masonry, covers this fictional concept of traveling between point A, the auton and the headdress of the deity, from point A, the Bent Pyramid, to B, King Solomon's Temple. A statistical argument can be made that part of the reason why Masonry is so secret is because they're covering we're covering the aspects of masonry cover. The organization was in part made to keep and to later decode when the burning times was done, and the Western world emerged a little bit more from the end of the Renaissance, beginning of the Industrial Age, to the point where education is freely available, and you won't get killed for information anymore. This may be one of the reasons why the secrecies is so important, is because the equations add the Egyptian, the funeral rites, and the engineering for prisms, and thermodynamics, and the light spectrum, and electromagnetics, and the engineering of the Rome enterprise down to the pyramids. Sharp turn. The sun carries the electromagnetic stuff into the pyramid, into the prism around the pyramid. It separates it out and then bends it to a given specific goal location. That given specific location would be the causeway, which would then have other people chanting and doing whatever electromagnetic elevation of both electricity and charging that electricity with specific things, with specific vibrations, specific waves, specific signatures, and the like, all collected in the causeway that then focuses it, channels it into an even ever more tightening and condensed form that then hits that aten in the headdress, that then very, very possibly create 1.21 gigawatts of electricity, because you got hundreds of tons of quartz right behind you. And there's dozens and dozens of tons of quartz in that couple mile long stretch that is the pyramid's causeway, as well as the other outbuildings and such, the funerary temples and such. Those are research facilities, or they are sound amplification rooms, acoustic amplification rooms, all designed to channel sound into, make sound into electricity, and electricity into a electromagnetic shaping device, the shaping tool, to be able to pound as much energy and electricity and charged electricity at that specific wall at a specific time, could allow for the opening of a Einstein-Rosen bridge, an event horizon that could allow for this. This is mathematically possible to consider that they may have done this. Whether they did it, whether or not it's possible, whether or not this is realistic, that's an entirely different question. The question is that there's enough evidence to take it from the idea stage to the hypothesis stage, to be able to then test out of it, to be able to come up with a reasonable facsimile of a theory that this may be possible. That's the stage we're at now. This is kind of like Schrodinger's cat. But it's possible. That's the only thing that matters at this point in the discussion. Is this, with the evidence involved and 1,000 points that I've left out, is this possible? So you have this. You have an exit to King Solomon's temple. The Juded Isis pyramid, which is one pyramid south of the Pep in the first pyramid, which is in, there's a collection of 3-4 pyramids, that it's the second one. It's the second one down. That's just below the pyramid. The pyramid. It's about midway in the pyramid. It's a little bit less than midway pyramid. Its causeway bisects the Cave of Nativity. So you journey from the west to the east, Freemasonry. You journey from the west to the east. Enterprise, Sun. You enter. You do stuff. And then you push off from some location, some hidden location in the pyramid, or on the backside of the pyramid. You push off. You go light spectrums and such, and you go through. You channel through the causeway to the aten in the entrance temple, and you then arrive at the Aten, possibly. I don't know if there's no way to determine whether or not there was anything close to that there. It's been long. The city's been reduced to rubble like 6 times since in the first thousand years, from the birth from the 0 point of the Gregorian calendar to the start to the beginning to just before the beginning of the Crusades. The city was reduced to rubble at least 4 times that I know of, that as a matter of fact, and 2 to 3 or 4 more times after that. So there's no possible way to determine that for any level of architectural or certainty, but there's probably artwork that might represent that there's some kind of a circle or a wall or something to that effect, that they could have, that the wise men from the west, the travels from the west to the east, or as strong as a structure, you keep the animals and such in a cave, because a cave is very, very difficult for a predator to break through the wall, because it's rock, and to eat your livestock. So caves are first line of defense for shepherds and the people who have livestock. You could tend them, you could take care of them, and the entrances are excessively well guarded. So it's a line of defense. It's also a perfect place to have when Herod was doing his wanting to kill all first male born children in the area. It's a fantastic place to hide a baby, especially a newborn male. If all the males, newborn males in the area had a death sentence, putting that male in a literal cave fortress is a really, really good idea. So yeah, they're in that cave. So this is statistically not only realistic, but it's now the burden of proof comes on, and this is what didn't happen. Go ahead. This is not how it actually happened, because if you look at it, the evidence is starting to mount up, and there's 1,000 points that I'm not thinking about right now that are adding up. So the pyramid light causeway light spectrum, if you take Roy G. Biv, and the other thing is involved in this is that from the Bent Pyramid to King Solomon's Temple, which is a couple miles north of Jerusalem, it has to pass through it has to intersect with the Einstein-Rosen Bridge tunnels created by other pyramids. In fact, it has to pass through almost all but one of the causeways. It has to bisect all of them, but the Jeffrey Pyramid, its causeway goes farther north. It has to bisect 14 other causeways, other Einstein-Rosen bridges. So there's a lot going on here, because no matter if people are doing the work or not, the causeways are producing electricity. They are pumping out juice in the what's left of the causeway. They are pumping electricity down that direction and out that way. As that is happening, that will only amplify each causeway that's actually being worked. So the amount of stuff to study in the subject is. This is doing the mathematics of break each of the parts down, and the 1,000 other subjects that I'm not thinking about right now. Breaking each of these parts down into its base element, and then carefully with a fine-tooth comb go through the mathematics with laboratory precision. Get what vibration is impacting the west side of the pyramid. How is it being bent? Exactly what is the spectrum being split apart? How is the limestone interacting and amplifying? How is the granite both deflecting and absorbing and amplifying because it amplifies in different ways. Granite's going to amplify electricity and electromagnetic vibrations differently than limestone does. So how does that apply? Then as it goes around, and then as it then continues to curve around, because you have a splitter here, and then it goes through, and then you have another splitter there. Then that splits into the causeway, which has its own engineering specifications, and then the causeway, and then you have a network of Einstein-Rosen bridges from at the end of the causeway, the entrance temple. That whole thing, all those mathematics need to be worked out, because there's a lot of information here that I'm just barely scratching the surface on, that is at this point in time on the extreme side of fascinating to even think about, let alone do anything with. Now, is there direct physical tangible evidence? Thank you so much, my friend in Tulsa. Is there direct physical tangible evidence of any Egyptology in the functionality and structure of the religion itself? Is there any evidence whatsoever of an Einstein-Rosen bridge? And the answer is absolutely, positively, without any kind of a shadow of a doubt. There's massive evidence of the structure of an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Absolutely, in all ways, shapes, and forms. That they covered it in explicit detail, 1,000 different ways, millions and millions, repeated millions and millions of times, copied from the earliest days of the Egyptology up until there's some aspects of it that's still being used. The aspects of the whole Einstein-Rosen bridge that's still being used in some aspects today is the whole the mother cow thing, Nut, not Newt, however you want to pronounce it. The shoe and Gib, the floor of the bridge, the walls and internal structure, because the walls and internal structure are different things. Studs are great and fantastic and wonderful things, but without the drywall and paint and other accents and decor and such, it's not a very appetizing place to do anything with that bridge at all. In fact, it's kind of gaudy. So you have the stud structure and the drywall, the paint, the lamps, the carpet, the doorways, all that other, all the other odds and ends that you would put in that are necessary for this type of journey. Obviously, metaphorically speaking, drywall and the like, what applies is not what the items are. It applies that they're in the story of those three: Nut, Newt, Shoe, and Gabe. You have the ground, the floor structure is present and accounted for. The walls are present and accounted for. In fact, Shoe, Newt, and Geb, they're in those positions. The roof, Newt, is there. The walls is there, and the floor is there. So you have basically a covered bridge, an old-timey covered bridge right there built into the Egyptology thing, where you have the entrance is the southern portion of the character of Newt, and you have the internal structure, which is either Shoe or Newt. It's either Shoot or Gib, and then you have the exit, which is also covered and also part of it, but then that starts to become part of Puritan culture. Doesn't like these descriptions, but the biochemical situation and the anatomy is clearly and evident, clearly there. There's an entrance, there's an exit, there's hundreds of thousands of millions of pieces of art that show an entrance, stuff in the motions in the middle, and then an exit. You have all this stuff in sequence. So all the elements of the pyramids being being a wedge, and each of the causeways being an Einstein-Rosen bridge of that wedge, operating inside that wedge, and then they're interdependent on each other, and they support and work and help with each other. That's all clearly in evidence. That's all clearly present and accounted for. The question is, why isn't this stuff been studied for the last 4,000 years, since the Hyksos took over and destroyed as much of the infrastructure as possible? Because the descendants of the Hyksos hate knowledge, education, and feeling stupid. Well, if you have a culture that's hell-bent on not feeling stupid, anything that makes them feel dumb, they immediately want to destroy. So this information has been destroyed multiple different types, kinds, and ways. The only thing that wasn't destroyed was the stuff that the enemy didn't know enough to destroy it. So there's a lot going on in this situation, a mountain of study to do that Egyptology is pretty much not paying attention to at all, or flat out ignoring. So there's a lot more here, because there's aspects of this stuff, there's technical aspects of the bridge I haven't covered. I barely even touched on, let alone I mentioned it a little bit, but I didn't go deep into detail. There's the Memento Mori ceremony, and an aspect of the fact that the Memento Mori ceremony, there's a violence situation, 1A, and then an emotional situation, 1B, and then a Einstein-Rosen bridge, 1C, to the other side, and then the genius factor that comes back, that talks back, that there's a hole there, there's a circle, there's a stargate created horizontally from here, right before the parade can be done. From here, the parade, the community involvement with the ceremony helps to power it. To then it goes to the other side, and then it completes the Ohm's law, completes the circuit, and comes back, and it then hits the community itself in a Fibonacci spiral, where it comes back and then spirals around, and it hits the community here, and the community then responds to whether or not this was a good idea, a west face of Janus or an east face of Janus. There's a bridge built in. There's an Einstein-Rosen bridge built into the Einstein-Rosen bridge. You have an Einstein-Rosen bridge built into that part, you have an Einstein-Rosen bridge built into the Memento Mori ceremony, and you have physical Einstein-Rosen bridge built into the entrance temple to a destination, be it King Solomon's temple, the Church of the Nativity, the Eridu Ziggurat. There's another ziggurat that it bisects. There's the mouth of the Sinai. There's all kinds of the shipping canal that separates Africa from the Middle East. All these different areas, all this different stuff that's going on. There's all kinds of evidence all over the place. It just needs to be examined for what it actually is versus what Hyksos disciplined scientists want you to think it is. The pyramids were not graves. That's not true at all. The pyramids were something else. The first mummy placed in a pyramid was placed 1,000 years after construction ended. The 2 and 3 and 4 the third and fourth and fifth bodies were placed decades, if not centuries, after that one. But it was placed more than 1,000 years. Construction ended, and the body was placed in. It was more than 1,000 years. You can put in the United States of America in that hole 3 times, or possibly even 4 times. The 240 plus years America has been in existence from 1776 to now. At least, hopefully, it will continue, and the Constitution won't be tossed out for fascist reasons. You can put America in there 3 times, 3.5, 4 times, and So the pyramids and the bodies being placed in there, turning those buildings into graves, they're not connected at all. So my name is T.R. Welling. The Enterprise is King Solomon's is a representation of King Solomon's Temple and the eastern side of the Roman Forum, which points directly at the pyramids, which then wedges out to create a network of Einstein-Rosen bridges. There's some very, very interesting things going on in these studies that needs careful attention that will continue in my next video. My name is T.R. Welling. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and if you can, hit the like button. More to come. And thank you very much.